Welcome, my name is Tishara and this is StarMade. Welcome back to our little project. We're still in the hangar we started building in last episode, and I've parked my little worker bee here at an angle because that looks a bit more lively than just parking it straight. I just placed a rail and then rotated it 45 degrees and put the rail back to a unloading rail beneath it, so you can still use it as a docking point for worker bee to unload your cargo from things you mine or something like that. But anyway, the next part we're going to concentrate on is the connecting hangar bit over here that we started last episode for all the storage we need in the ship, because this is a trading ship. We need a lot of storage for trade and of course to pick up to trade back to other parties. But it's still not done. So we're going to work on this section a bit more to complete it, and then copy it over 3 times to complete this section. I kept things relatively simple. I completed the brown tanks here at the bottom, then added a whole bunch of storage blocks here on top, and I connected a hose to the tank that would lead to somewhere, not sure where yet, that we can use to, or at least pretend to use to fill up these tanks. That's at least what they represent. But I will fill them with storage blocks instead, so we can use them as extra storage. Not sure what I'm going to do with the floor yet, so it's still gray. And I'm also having to think about probably adding a door here below this big hole in the wall, because I want this, of course, to be used by ships. But if you are an astronaut and you're probably not going to go through here, then we need a door to get into this section of the ship. So it's probably going to go somewhere around here. Most likely the same type of door I've got over here for these sections that I still haven't finished. Not sure what they're going to put there yet. So that's probably the next task we're going to do, including copying this section over to complete this room. Well, and 2 copy-paste jobs later, and we've got our room more or less done. As you can see, it fits nicely against the engine room over here. This is of course the outside of the room, so including the engine room and the main hangar at the front, the bottom part of the ship is largely filled up already. So it's a big ship, but including the hangars, there's not actually a lot of room left for a different interior, but there's still plenty of decks to work with. And on the inside it looks like this now. So like I said, I copied it over 3 times, so the orange hoses, they go nowhere at the moment. And there's a blank wall here at the end as well. But it gives you a good indication how big the room is. And we've got a lot of space to store stuff. To put a bit more life within the hangar spaces of the ship, I put in a couple of barrels and cargo rails, and of course actual cargo space. It's linked to this cargo box here. And this is again linked to the docking port for this worker bee. So everything that the worker bee offloads, that's stored here. And I did the same for our cargo area over here, but with some larger crates, things like that, doodads, and a lot more storage. And I added a landing pad here at the end of the cargo space that we can land this shuttle over here, because this particular shuttle has some cargo space, so it can load or unload some cargo to the main ship. Also added additional blue paneling to the walls to liven up the place a bit, so it's a lot more colorful and complete looking than it was before. And of course we have our ships here, other ships that I showed last episode as well, that are now docked here in the main docking area. And these 2 docks are still free. You can add your own ships, or perhaps I'll add some other type ships there at a later date. I'm not sure yet. I also added the door here, at least the place where the door is going to be. So we can now go into the storage area of the ship as an astronaut instead of as a ship only. That should make it a lot more accessible. And I changed the orange hoses a bit so they connect to the floor directly, like this. And then below this area, there's a lot of empty space here, because here is the docking port for offloading for external ships, so they can offload the cargo there, and then some sort of piping mechanism will move it up and then into the storage area over here. At least that's something I'm going to build, and it will represent it, but of course the actual mechanism of the ship will pull it directly from the dock itself. But we'll have to make it look nice. One additional thing I wanted to add to the main docking area is this little building over here. There was nothing here before, but this will be some sort of control room that you can look over the entire docking area over here and where the ships come in, and just arrange how they dock and, well, basically contact traffic. So that's something I wanted to add. And I'm thinking perhaps we can even add an additional small elevator from this area to the top to the rest of the ship, so that we have a additional access to the hangar area over here instead of only the main elevator over here. Because that's something I'm keeping in mind, in the back of my mind, every time I'm designing a room. How is a player or a astronaut going to move through the space? The main elevator is fine, but yeah, if that's taken out or whatever, then you can't go to this area anymore. So we have to have some sort of backup. But I'll see if I can think of some other ways as well to get these areas connected. I also put in the door over here, and as you can see, it already works. Just press the button and it opens. And if you press the button again, it closes. It's a pretty standard two-part door, and I'm using the same doors for these areas that I still haven't finished. There was a very well-deserved remark on my last episode regarding these pipes in the back of my ship and on other parts as well, that they were a bit square. So yeah, that's valid. I was a bit lazy. I didn't give them a bevel edge. I did it now, so they're a bit more rounder, and I managed to connect them to the main hull fine enough. So I did that for every pipe there is, like this one, and of course the smaller ones here in these areas and at the front here. So they're all beveled now. Hope that makes you happy. It looks a lot better, I admit. I should have done that before. In addition to creating internal spaces, I did some work on the systems as well. Because as you can see here, these are all beam movement models, and they connect to an array over here that exits in this output over here. So if you go into FreeCam mode over here, let me grab my interface for a second. We've got our main beam weapon over here. I can fire it like this. It fires 4 beams per side, so 8 in total, to get a nice wide beam attack. And it doesn't even use all that much extra power from my main core. I could probably make it bigger because I still have the power for it, but I will need the power for the engines and the jump drive as well. And I'm going to guess that there are going to be power hogs. So this beam weapon uses about, let's say, 18% of my power, I think. Something like that. 17-18%, I think. So that's a nice number, I think. I completed the doors here on this end of the cargo, not the cargo, the main hangar bay. I'm so happy that you can load blueprints directly on a rail now, so the placing the doors is a lot easier now. But I also added the rooms behind it. Here we go. These are smaller cargo rooms as well. I decided to make them sort of similar to the main cargo hold, with the brown tank and the cargo on top, like this. An extra cargo section over here, and more cargo space here in the middle. Because yeah, this ship is mainly used for transporting a whole lot of cargo from one place to the other. And it's mirrored on the other side over here. So it's the exact same room. I'll probably add some doodads in here, like crates and other things to liven up the place a bit, and add some decoration to the walls. But the main room is there now. As you can see here in the main hull of the ship, the bottom part is basically filled up with rooms now. There's not a whole lot of space left, but you still have these weird areas like this here. And at the front there were a couple as well that I'm not going to really use for systems. I'm not going to use them for actual rooms, but I wanted to do something with them, and I started at the front here. Let me grab my interface again, because if I lighten up the place then it will be a bit more visible. As you can see here, I created basically empty areas in the sections that had these weird shapes, and then added stuff to it. Like for example antennas and whatever this thing is, and over here I did it as well with some sort of buffer thing, not sure what it is, but at least stuff. So if the ship gets shut, you can see that there is something there, something mechanical, but it doesn't really serve any purpose and you can't really go there as an astronaut. It's purely for decorative purposes when the ship is damaged. Besides the additional decorative empty rooms I added, I wanted to work some more on these small hangar bays as well in the wingy bit of the ship, because these will house the 3 worker bees per side that can be used for harvesting resources, etc. So I did a little bit of work as well, adding the blue, what do you call them, supports in the hangar bay to give it the same color palette as the main hangar base. But we're going to run into a problem on this section, I think, because this is a very, very weird shape. And if I want to put something in here, it's going to be very weirdly shaped as well. So I'm going to try, but I'm not sure how it will turn out. I probably have to fill in a lot of stuff with just empty decorative blocks that don't weigh a lot, just to have it filled up, but they don't do anything. I do have some space here, but yeah, like I said, it's probably going to house some mechanical stuff that you don't see unless you shoot up the ship. An area I also wanted to put a lot of work in is the areas below the deck of the hangar base. Like I said, for that part over there, where the cargo is transferred from the outside ships. But there's also an area below here, this main deck. And I put an access ladder to what's basically boiling down to some sort of Jeffrey tube or maintenance tunnel. You go down this ladder, then you come into this access tube to this area. There's just call it a Jeffrey's tube all the way down there to the area below the hangar bay with the cargo, and to this area over here. This is a very big empty space. It's not fully done yet. I built this catwalk over here to get to the other side, but there's a whole lot of space below here that I decided to use for logic. I had my temporary logic in here before, but I decided to add these motherboard sheets. I've got 3 on this side and 3 on that side, and then place my logic inside it. So I got clearly label it. This is, for example, my general settings I use within the ship. My rail speed, for example, I've got 4 of them: full speed, 3/4, half, quarter, and none. So I can use them on all the rails I have. I've got a docked force field. That's the water sheet basically for the main hangar. And I've got the bridge armor logic. It's the bridge armor that is for the window on the bridge section that is not built yet. So I've placed this all here in here. And for example, this thing over here is actually on the docked entity for the water sheet force field, but it also has, if I activate it, an actual force field like this. So you can basically block the entrance to the main hangar or just disable it, and then you've got the water sheet force field that you can pass through. So you can close off the main hangar if you really want. The nice thing about having a logic area like this is that you can make it really accessible and easy to maintain like this. It's a bit wasteful for space, but I've got the space anyway in this ship, so why not? And I'm planning to only add logic in here that I don't really mind if it gets destroyed. So it's not going to be critical logic for in a battle or something like that. I can put that somewhere else. But general logic for doors, things like that. For example, the airlock doors and the bay doors for the main hangar are in here. It's not really all that much trouble to have it destroyed. I can just rebuild it when it's needed after the battle. But it is sufficiently protected with a couple of layers of armor, and this big turret is in front of it that I still haven't designed yet. And one of you guys asked me about a tutorial for turrets. I'm probably going to take this big turret as an example to explain some steps you can take for building turrets and adding the systems to it. But I'm not really an expert on turrets per se, but I know enough to make them work sufficiently. Anyway, to continue, we've got this route across this bridge section. We get to this hallway, also a Jeffrey's tube. There's no access to the top in here, but I am planning to add one probably somewhere around here on this side, I think, probably connecting here. I've already made the spot for it, but I haven't built the access yet. And I'm thinking about adding and connecting it to this as well. So a small elevator that will bring you down to the area below here for the cargo transfer. So that's where the Jeffrey tubes end up at on both sides. Still got plenty of room here to design something. I want to close the episode with this section of the ship with the small hangars for the worker bees. Did some work with it. So it's not too complicated. Added some lights, added the worker bees themselves, of course, some additional lights in the wall sections, and I've got a little bit of cargo storage over here. And I'm probably going to have a main door in this wall that will connect through a hallway to the rest of the ship. I've got space for that. But like I said, behind this wall is the most difficult section because there's also a weird shape. I wanted to add something in basically this 45-degree angled shape that would make sense. And I did manage to put in something. It's not completely done, but I tried to highlight the actual lines that the weapon output follows. So I've put them some charge circuits, and then dock them, and then load them in this this floor section, and this big blue pipe that follows this area as well. And then that connects to the weapon output, sort of, still connected to an area with filler blocks as well. And then on this side, I've got a bit of a room with a computer area to control these weapon sections and these two things, capacitors, chargers, not sure what they are, something electrical because they need to feed the beam weapon. At least that's the thing they need to represent. So this is sort of a maintenance area. Not planning to have someone stationed here permanently. This is just if you have to do work on this weapon system. But at least it has something in this area now. And I think it worked out quite well. I still have to connect this this big pipe to something, probably to one of the walls or the ceiling, I'm not sure. Then you can come in here, do some work here, or go to this area with the computers. So that's the last part I wanted to show you guys for this episode. We'll continue work on this, of course, in the next episode, and hopefully we can get everything connected, including all the maintenance areas complete. But that's for next time. Let me know if you have questions or remarks, and I'll try to answer them in the next episode.